Our topic for today is psychological perspective of the self. Specifically, we will be discussing about Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. Under the psychodynamic perspective, we have Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory and Alfred Adler's individual psychology. They are both psychodynamic theories. But for today, for this video, we will be talking about Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. There are three core assumptions of the psychodynamic perspective. First assumption is primacy of the unconscious. Second assumption is critical importance of early experiences. And number three assumption is psychic causality. We can say that a perspective is psychodynamic if it contains these three assumptions. Don't forget, unconscious, early experiences, and psychic causality. Assumption 1, primacy of the unconscious. These contend that the majority of psychological processes take place outside conscious awareness. The activities of the mind or psyche are presumed to be largely unconscious. Research confirms this basic premise of psychodynamic. Many of our mental activities, memories, motives, feelings, and the like are largely inaccessible to consciousness. Assumption 2, critical importance of early experiences, posits that early childhood events play a role in shaping personality. Early experiences, including those occurring during the first 3 months of life, set in motion personality processes that affect us years, even decades later. Assumption number 3, psychic causality. Psychodynamic theory points that nothing in mental life happens by chance, that there is no such thing as a random thought, feeling, motive, or behavior. Most theorists and researchers agree that thoughts, motives, emotional responses, and expressed behaviors do not arise randomly, but always stem from some combination of identifiable biological and psychological processes. Under psychodynamic perspective is psychoanalytic theory by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis. In psychoanalysis, there are levels of mental life. Freud saw mental functioning as operating on 3 levels. 1, unconscious, 2, preconscious, and number 3, conscious. Let's now talk about the first one, the unconscious. The unconscious includes drives and instincts that are beyond awareness, but that motivate most human behaviors. Drive, mental representation of an inner bodily source of excitement. These drives can only become conscious in disguised or distorted form, such as dream images, slips of the tongue, neurotic symptoms. An example of a Freudian slip is a man who accidentally used a former girlfriend's name when referring to a current girlfriend. The second is the preconscious. The preconscious contains images that are not in awareness, but that can become conscious either quite easily or with some level of difficulty. You might not presently be thinking about how to do long division, but you can access the information and bring it into conscious awareness when you are faced with a math problem. The third one is the conscious. Consciousness plays a relatively minor role in Freudian theory. Conscious ideas stem from either the perception of external stimuli, or what we call our perceptual conscious system, or from the unconscious and preconscious after they have evaded censorship. The iceberg model. What is the iceberg model? Our personality under psychoanalytic theory is likened to an iceberg. As you can see, there is the ego, superego, and the id, and conscious, preconscious, unconscious. Sabi nga nila, we only see the tip of the iceberg. What is manifested in the behavior or people is the ego and the conscious. Kung ano yung tip of the iceberg, we refer that to conscious. Okay, now let's go to the structure of personality. Freud describes the personality in terms of three constructs: the id, the ego, and the superego. Now let's discuss them one by one. Freud emphasizes that the id, ego, and superego are not separate compartments within the mind. They blend together like sections of a telescope or colors in a painting. The id or it. Id is the raw, unorganized, inborn part of personality. It is primitive desires of hunger, sex, and aggression. It works with pleasure principle. Satisfaction is the ultimate goal. Its only resource is to form mental images of what it wants, a process called wish fulfillment. The ego or the me. Due to constant battle between an id demanding instant gratification and a superego demanding constant restraint, there is ego. Ego is rational and reasonable. It operates under reality principle. Instinctual energy id is restrained in order to maintain the safety of the individual and keep him, her, within society's norms. As you can see on the picture, excuse me, the id says, I want it now. As you can see on the picture, the id says, I want it now. The ego says, I need to do a bit of planning to get. And the superego says, you can't have it. It's not right. The superego or over me. The superego or over me. The superego develops at age 5 or 6. the superego develop at age 5 or 6. It helps you, the superego develop at age 5 or 6. It helps you know what is right and wrong. Right and wrong is learned from others, especially from our parents. It refers to the moral ideas and conscience. It guides us towards socially acceptable behavior through the use of guilt and anxiety. Now let's go to psychosexual stages of development. Sigmund Freud calls his theory psychosexual stages of development, or Sigmund Freud calls his stages of development psychosexual stages of development. Each stage represents the fixation on different areas of the body. As a person grows physically, certain areas of their body become source of potential frustration, pleasure, or both, or what he calls erogenous zones. Fixation refers to a person's libidinal energy that may remain fixed at an earlier stage of development. Here is a figure on stages of psychosexual development. The oral stage occurs from birth to about 15 months. The anal stage is from 15th month to about 3 years. The phallic stage comes in when the child is 3 years to about 5 years. The latency stage is around 5 years to puberty. And finally, the genital stage comes when the child or the person is in puberty onwards. If table 1, Freudian psychosexual stages of development. You can see in this figure stage, as you can see in this figure or table, as you can see in this table, you have the column 1, the stage, the second column, age, and the third column, the erogenous zone or activities. We have oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency stage, latency, and genital. Okay, and you can also see the age where the stage occurs. And here, sa third column, you can see the erogenous zones or activities. Not during oral stage or 0 to 18 months, the erogenous zone of the person or a child is the mouth. So the child would love sucking, biting, chewing, and the child finds satisfaction from doing so. And for the anal stage, which is 18 to 36 months, the focus of pleasure is the anus, where the child loves or is satisfied doing bowel and bladder control. And for the third is the phallic, or 3 to 6 years old, where the focus of erogenous zone is genitals and masturbation. And during the latency stage, which is 6 years of puberty, there is a repression of sexual feelings. And finally, genital or puberty plus, here is the maturation of sexual orientation. Now let's discuss oral stage. This is birth to 1 year old. Erogenous zone is mouth. Satisfaction comes from putting all sorts of things in the mouth. Activities are sucking, biting, and swallowing. Activities are biting, sucking, and swallowing. Fixations in the oral stage. Ibig sabihin, if this stage is not properly satisfied, then there will be oral aggression, like shouting, nagger, sarcastic, argumentative once the child is in the adult stage. There is also oral receptiveness or overeating, gullible, and smoking. The anal stage which occur, the anal stage is from 1 year old to 3 years old. The erogenous zone is anus. It derives great pleasure in bowel or bladder control. The fixation in the anal stage is the fixation in the anal stage is the anal retentive or obsessive in cleanliness and stingy. The anal repulsive is messy and lack of commitment. Third is the phallic stage, 3 years old to 6 years old. The erogenous zone is genitals. The erogenous zones are the genitals. Child becomes aware of anatomical sex differences. Alam na babae siya or lalaki siya. That the girl is different from a boy. Conflict comes from erotic attraction, resentment, rivalry, jealousy, and fear. The Oedipus complex, while girls experience the Electra complex. Male experience the Oedipus complex while the girls experience the Electra complex. The latency stage is from 6 years old to puberty. Latent means hidden. It focuses on schoolworks, hobbies, and friendship. At this point in time, yung mga bata ay hindi masyadong conscious sa kanilang sexuality. They play together. It doesn't matter for them, it doesn't matter if they are male or female. They just work together or play together. And then, genital stage. Puberty, genital stage. This is from puberty to adulthood. Physical sexual changes reawaken. Physical sexual changes reawaken repressed needs, restricted by social rules. For Freud, past experiences are the main determinants of our present behavior. People have no choice in shaping their personality, and the unconscious is the main source of motivation of most human behaviors. That's it, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Bye. See you next day. Bye.